So, Johannes, first of all, welcome and congratulations to your offer from McKinsey in Jakarta, right? So
Yes.
maybe let us understand, how did you get the happy news? Did they call you at the same day? Did they let you wait a little bit? Let us understand this a bit better.
Yeah, so they called me roughly a week after the interview, so they let me wait for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my interviewer called me directly, and he said, "Congratulations, you passed the process." He liked like my PI story and also the case performance.
Mhm.
And yeah, he said he's like looking forward to me joining like the company. Yeah, so it's it's not a very long conversation, and at that time I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say basically to my interviewer.
I love it, right? Because it was quite a long journey that led you there in the end, right? So it's I can understand that there were not much words left after the processes that we have gone through here. Yeah, let's reflect back a little bit on the journey and also the coaching program, right? So if you think about your preparation, what were your thoughts? What was the most important change that you were going through, and also being part of that program that fueled your success? So what would be the aspects that you would be singling out here in order to answer this question?
I think first is like having like the guidance, right? Previously, I prepared by myself. I didn't have friends who were going into consulting, so really having that kind of environment, yeah, especially people who have worked in consulting before, right?
Yeah.
To guide you is very helpful. Secondly, I would say like a very big change is also in terms of how I did the cases, right? Before joining the program, I just used like very standard frameworks, very standard some kind of bucket list kind of structure to solve the cases. So it was like a big change when during the program I learned about solving the case with logic, and it really helped me a lot to perform well during the interviews. Yeah, and lastly also like the people that I had opportunities to practice with as well, right, within the program. There were a lot of very strong people. There were a lot of very strong candidates. So it's it's very, very helpful to develop myself as well.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very structured, right? I like the answer here. You can see that you have learned a thing or two about top-down communication and delivery. So that's great, right? Because ultimately, and this is also what I'm trying to tell people that are reaching out, this is a skill building program, right? So this is not to learn a dirty trick or to only master the case interviews. So what we are laying the foundations for in that program is indeed analytical and MBB level problem solving, and you will benefit a lot, not only now in that you have used it already in your interviews, but also you will benefit a lot in the first couple of weeks and months, right? So because we had several instances already where people took a photo, a picture, right, from the onboarding material and said, guys, this is like, I knew this already, right? So what have you done here? Because I really feel ahead. And this will also happen in the first couple of weeks on your projects, right? Because you have the mindset instilled here that you bring a solution to the table, right? And not waiting for anyone else to tell you what to think and what to do. But you always have a solution that you would continue with if no one else would help you calibrating it and steering it. Because that's the mindset here that you will need in MBB, right? So here's a problem. I don't care about your problems. I care about your solutions. So let's discuss them. Let's fine tune them. Let's make them better, right? So I'm super happy to hear this.
Yes.
So maybe what was the single one thing, right, or maybe two, whatsoever, that you struggled with the most at the beginning? What was this for you, and how did it change over time? And when did you notice that it has changed? What did you realize about your development also here?
I think before I joined the program, when I work on cases, I always thought about it like like an assessment. Like I had to list some kind of things that I wanted to consider. Right?
Yeah.
So I think the biggest change was when I started learning that structure is actually a plan on how you're going to approach the problem, right? And it really changed my mindset, and I started to work on cases like it was a real world problem that I had to solve, basically, right? So I think this helped me a lot, and it was definitely something that I struggled to understand before joining the program.
Mm-hmm. And how did you realize that this was different, right? So what is the observation that you're having about your own performance, or maybe even the feedback that you have received then?
Yeah, I would say that from firstly, I felt it myself that I started to solve the cases differently. I started to kind of enjoy the process of solving those cases. And yeah, secondly, also I guess the feedback that I received from the other people in the program, right? Initially, there was some improvement points that they made, right? And I realized over time that I noticed that some of the very strong people like my performance, so I started to know that I made improvements, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what you also realize, right, over time, and this is a nice mechanism, you see the people are getting offers, right? And that reinforces the trust also in the process, and making sure that the peer group that you're practicing with is also building more confidence internally, right? So
Yes.
It's just a very nice development. And we see this quite often actually in subgroups. That there is also then a friendship starting, more or less, right? So it's not like your best friend you meet at night, but I mean, it's a professional relation that is built, and often it's also then going into something more personal, which is also a nice side effect, right? So it's meeting new cool people that also will work in the same profession. So we probably should do an alumni meeting at some point in time, right? So you will be invited. Okay, so maybe let me also understand one more thing here in terms of your suggestions to individuals that are about to start their preparation journey, right? So what would you suggest someone that tells you, hey, Johannes, I'm just about to embark into an MBB preparation cycle, right? So, or like preparing for the next MBB interview cycle. So what should I do? What would you tell them?
I think I would tell them to first, prepare, take enough time to prepare for the case interviews, right? You cannot prepare for the interviews, 1 week before the interview itself.
Yeah.
It requires some time to build the skills. Secondly, it's very important to practice with good people, right? Before joining the program, initially I practiced with some random people on the internet, and it's not very helpful, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yes, and as you said many times, right, it's not only about the quantities, the number of cases that you solve, but it's also about the qualities. Yeah. Lastly, I would say maybe the PEI or the fit part of the interview is super important as well. So definitely also prepare for that, I guess.
Yeah, there was in my past 1 or 2 clients that needed a bit more nudging on that topic, right? So let's keep it with this here in that process. Now, cool. Yeah, Johannes. I mean, the one last question maybe I would have here. So you spoke about that peer practicing is an important part of the program and also of the development, right? And this is nothing new. So this is like something that most people will have realized. However, It is important that the peers are building on the same theoretical fundament to even speak with each other the same language, right? To make sure that there is a useful feedback provided, that one that you A, can understand, B, that you can relate to something, and C, that you can take an action up on this. And this is one of the most underestimated parts, right, of this, let me practice with like people I find online. First of all, you don't know if they show up. Second of all, you don't know if they are helpful. Third, if you don't build on the same theoretical fundament, it's like one is telling you left and the other one is telling you right, and they believe they speak about the same thing, right? So it's super unsystematic, and that is something I can really warn people, right? So it's fine. Not everyone can be in a program like this, totally okay. But at the end, you need to make sure that you have a solid infrastructure set, one that is serving for systematic progress, right? And that means then for whatsoever program you decide or thought school you decide, right? So, but make sure this is consistent, because if it is not consistent, also your improvement will not be consistent. It's the direct consequence of this. And the one thing I wanted to ask you in addition is, so we are a big fan of also listening to your own performances, right? And have you done this? And have you compared this with one of your early performances? How was that feeling for you when you were listening to the Johannes at the beginning of the program? Have you done this? And what was the reaction that you can share here?
Yeah, of course. Because for every session, I recorded, like the interaction, right, with my interviewer. And I realized, that I changed a lot in terms of how I approach the cases. Basically, I was much more confident, later on during the program, and in the beginning, many times I didn't really know what to say, and I had, just a very bad structure. And also I realized that I took less time, basically, to solve the cases later on during the journey. So that's also something that I guess people can learn over time.
I love it. Because it's, and I mean, the one thing is to listen to your own performance. And the other thing is, and this is once you're performing consistently, when you think, now listening to myself, I probably wouldn't have done anything different now, right? And this is what we then consider as a consistent performance. And it's also such a huge boost of self-confidence in the end if you compare this, right? Because you are in a way an external observer of your own performance. And it's one thing if we tell you you have improved, or if your peers tell you have improved, but it's a very, very different thing if you're seeing yourself improving, right? Because this self-confidence comes from a very different level inside your mind and inside your heart, right? So thank you so much. Johannes, that was an absolute incredible journey. I'm super proud being part of this. It was a long journey. It was a journey full of setbacks, but I fully admire that you never gave up, right? I so much admire this, and the journey was incredible, and I can only say thank you for believing in yourself. Thank you for making it happen, and I'm convinced this will be a great career. So for the moment, thank you for speaking to me today. All the best.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much to John.